Mistakes should be learning experiences, not punishments. The growth mindset is loving challenges and seeing them as opportunities to grow stronger. First time leadership, managing and coaching new hires. You know me pretty well, but I'll go through this again. A founder of Design Source Media, founder of DSM Talent, running an agency for over 13 years, currently managing a team of 14, husband, father of 3 kids. So in this session, we'll cover first time leadership in a startup agency, the importance of leadership in early stage team building, and challenges first time leaders face, like balancing execution with delegation, establishing team culture, and coaching and guiding new hires. All right, so the role of a leader in talent acquisition. The leaders are defining the overall recruitment strategy and really hiring the right people, ensuring the long-term success. So this is basically one example of our recruitment process. Every organization, every agency has a slightly modified version, but this is what we found to be the best for us, and has worked well for hundreds and thousands of candidates that we went through and hundreds that we've recruited. So we start off with an application form, Easter egg, assessment, first round interviews, sometimes optional second round, and then the final interview. But sometimes before the final interview, we might throw in the paid test or vice versa, do the paid test, job offer, and onboarding. So this is kind of like a bird's eye view of everything. And every component, leadership is affecting all these stages, even before the application form is created. So moving on, aligning hiring and company goals. Recruitment should reflect the company's mission and long-term vision. Leaders must guide the hiring team to communicate this vision clearly. So here is an example of my own, actually, this is a wallpaper I asked our team to create for our organization. So this wallpaper, I look at every single day. And so how I look at this and how I have everything set up is that it ensures that I am in alignment to my own mission, vision, and values, and also my personal pieces. So I'll walk you through kind of my own wallpaper, and I highly encourage everyone to do this exercise and have something on your own system, your own wallpaper. So our mission, help agency owners save time and earn more. A world where all can make life better. And then our values, keep promises, be great, help others, keep learning, think ahead. Okay. So that's like the mission, vision, and values of our organization. So uniquely on the left-hand side, I have my wife, my kids, right? You know, I'm doing this for my own family. But also, what is these 2 images up top? There's this little dude that's an astronaut floating in space. One of my bucket list items, as crazy as this sounds, is to get into space, even for 5 seconds. All right. It's starting to be commercialized. I think it costs like $100,000 right now to be in space for 5 seconds. So that's like one of my bucket lists. And then the other piece here is that the universe, the Milky Way, the wide, vast place in comparison to what I'm doing day to day. So all the struggles, all the pain, all the craziness that's happening in the grand scheme of things in this universe is a little blip. Right? I mean, look at how long humans have been around. You know, we've only been a couple thousand years when this universe has been millions, right? Trillions. You know, just kind of puts everything in perspective. And this is the wallpaper I stare at every single day. And ultimately, it formulates kind of like my leadership style and how I present myself and how I stay grounded and continue moving forward. Does that make sense? Okay. So this is like a template for our team. And then the images, they just swap out. They put in their kids or their dog or their objectives personally on the left-hand side, but the mission, vision, and values are the same for everyone. And I don't force anyone to do it. It's highly recommended. Here you go. Here's a wallpaper. You know, feel free to add it to your desktop too. So attracting the right candidates, clear job descriptions, targeted advertising, employer branding, engaging passive candidates. So all these pieces, how does it all tie into leadership? It starts with that mission, vision, and core values. So what your job descriptions say, what you're advertising, who you're attracting, what type of individuals you're attracting, it's all based off of that. So leadership starts before you even talk to someone. It starts when you're looking for someone, when you're thinking about looking for someone, because that's how early it starts. And so some of the results, leaders set the tone for culture through hiring decisions, right? So this is just a recent feedback from one of our own team members. Thank you, Dave, for creating a positive and supportive environment where we don't have to deal with toxic clients. It's refreshing to work in a place that values respect and teamwork. Grateful to be part of this amazing team. Excited to see what we'll achieve together. Keep it up, everyone. That's our company culture. That's our dynamic. But as a leader, you have to make some tough decisions. And also the calls, we're fortunate enough to be in a position where we don't have to have customers. We don't have to increase our revenue numbers or net profit numbers. Yes, that is always one of our goals. But if you want a culture where your team members feel that they're taken care of, you have to make some of these calls, like firing a client. And it might be a client that is 20% of your net profit. Okay, something crazy, right? Or even 30%. Or work towards decoupling, right? That means not being dependent on that one client, right? In the beginning, it's tough, but it's you as a leader, you start building towards that and having a clear game plan and sharing that within your own organization. So hiring for culture and skills, what to assess when evaluating cultural fit, right? Values, starting with your values, the work style, communication and team fit, diversity, and work-life balance, growth, and engagement. For example, we function like a firefighting team or like a SWAT team. When something happens, everyone is well-trained. We need to put out a fire. Everyone knows how to go into a burning building and put out that fire and not be a liability and a risk to others. And so that's kind of how we work. And that's the culture that I built. Not necessarily maybe a fit for your organization, but that's how I like to run things. And that's kind of how I built the organization. And I understand that there are pros and cons to that. The pros are, yeah, we're like efficient, right? We're like go-getters, right? But also burnout is a problem. It could be a problem. So there's that constant understanding of we have our capacity worksheet. We understand where everyone's workload is. We're careful balancing. I do a lot of one-on-ones, understanding each individual. Hey, how are you feeling? And that wasn't me 10 years ago. I'm not like the touchy-feely type of person. I don't usually ask for feelings. I mean, come on. I grew up with Asian parents. Like feelings isn't one of those things. It's, oh, wow, why'd you get an A-? Why'd you get A+? Kind of my mindset, right? So I had to retrain and focus on what are the feelings, what are the stress levels, because I've experienced burnout myself. I don't want that for the rest of the team. But in order for everyone to work at their best, to be top performers, all the hurdles, the bottlenecks, things that are slowing them down, that has to get out of the way. So it might be, oh man, I really don't know how this works. Okay, what are the tools available in front of you? Can we get you tools? It might start off with maybe AI, and then maybe there's workshops and courses and YouTube video content online, and then maybe your peers. If not, I'll go and hire a consultant, pay them $250 an hour to train our team. I'll be happy to do that. Okay, because the ROI is worth it. Leaders play a key role in shaping the employer perception. This is a testimonial from one of the talents that we placed. Hello, David, how are you? I just wanted to take a moment to say how truly grateful I am for the opportunity to work for you. Receiving my salary earlier was not just a small thing. It was actually one of the biggest wins this year. It means so much to me and my parents. I can't thank you enough for that support. This has been a huge blessing, and I'm really looking forward to more opportunities to contribute to your team and business. Thank you again for believing in me. So when you focus not just on the money, you focus on positive impact on individuals, the money will come. And no matter what, who cares if COVID-2, version 2 comes back or something else, comet hits the earth, right? Hopefully it doesn't, put us into an extinction, but your organization will be much stronger to survive through those hurdles. Okay. Another piece that we look at as a leader, some of the decisions I had to make a couple of years, like about 5-6 years ago, I had to make a decision. Do I want to pay about 22 to 23% more? It's like converting someone to 1099 to a W-2 to offer benefits. At that moment, this is crazy, and at that point, I think I had 10 people. So you can imagine salary-wise, an immediate 23% increase as soon as the benefits were offered. It was a tough pill to swallow, but I took a step back and looked at the big picture. I'm like, hey, this is worth it. And so some of those things as a leader, you want to think about not just present day, but you want to think about what's going to happen and how can we make this sustainable, and is it worth it? And how can we make this work, right? So that's one of those pieces of benefits that we look at. So the key to effective onboarding for new hires in relation to leadership is that our onboarding piece is a 90-day process. Leadership doesn't mean, winging it. You don't want to wing things. You want to have a clear idea, clear direction, both in the organization, but also individual training as much as possible. And I get it. When I first started, it was like Wild West, right? YOLO, just so many things going on. Like you're learning new things. When I first started, I didn't even know what a networking event was. I didn't even know what a chamber of commerce was. Okay. That's how bad I was in running a business. And my friend told me, hey, did you know that you can network with other professionals and business owners? Really? What is this? So I've gone so far, since then. And the 90-day onboarding, it pretty much looks like this, right? We have our first 10 days and then our weeks all the way to the 90th day. And it took us many years to get to this point. I mean, this is before AI, okay? Now you can really cheat with AI. You can just literally ask AI, hey, give me a 90-day plan. And there you go. You have a draft, and then you can start adding more to it. But this is before AI. And then now we're using AI to make this even better. So when you have a plan like this, it builds more confidence in that individual that you're onboarding. And then what happens is that now you can focus your energy, your time in leadership, in developing that individual, not just, oh yeah, let me walk you through this and spend all your time just on the skills training. Okay. If you have the documentations, you have the SOP, they can self-learn, because most entrepreneurs, I've never heard of anyone saying, oh yeah, I don't want anyone to be independent. I don't want anyone to learn on themselves. I want them to always have me jump on a Zoom call, and that's the only way they learn. Said no business owner, no entrepreneur, right? So if you want your team, your new hires to be able to learn on their own and basically get to the point where they're self-sufficient and they have full autonomy, which is a win-win for everyone and not constantly bugging you, you have to have a good onboarding process, and you have to have a good knowledge base of information, SOPs. And then finally, now you're spending time, your valuable time and their valuable time on mentorship. And we'll get to that in a later slide. The next piece is points of onboarding. So remember I said 90 days. So every 30 days, the first 30 days is about learning. The second month is about implementing what they've learned. And then finally, the third month, the 60 to 90 day mark, they're finally optimizing what they've learned. And they can only do that if you have a good onboarding process. Where most agency owners make a mistake with is that, oh yeah, first week, look at our systems, make it better. What? Yeah, I don't even know your clients. I don't even know what your values are in this organization. I don't even know all the team members and the vendors that we're working with. And you're expecting me to improve on something? That's a recipe for disaster, right? So making sure the new hires, they have a full understanding of your organization, your values, your mission, your vision, your clients, your colleagues, how the processes go, and then start implementing that. And then you'll start seeing the optimization then. Okay? So don't rush it, but you can get through this process really quickly only if you have the onboarding process locked in. So you can kind of see a deeper dive into the 90-day onboarding. First 10 days, company-centric, role-specific tasks. Then this is the third week, deep dive into responsibilities, feedback and adjustment. And then they're starting to take initiative, start building stronger relationships at that point. Week 9 to 10, process improvement. And then week 11 and 12, strategic contribution. That's where the magic happens. When you ask one of your team members, hey, what do you think? You think we should be doing this? What do you think about this scenario? Oh, I'm thinking about adding this new service. What do you think about that? And your team members able to contribute. Wow. That is like the holy grail, right? That's the point you want to get to. but you can't get into strategic contribution if you don't do these other pieces. If you don't have a relationship and they don't trust you, they don't trust the organization, they don't trust their peers, they're afraid of looking stupid, they're not going to provide feedback. They keep their head down and they're going to just try to clock in at 9 and clock out at 5. So if they don't understand your process, how can they give you feedback? If you don't promote taking initiative, why would they ever take initiative? Right? So all these pieces, part of leadership, but it helps with the 90-day onboarding where you set it and it's a process that you follow. And you're setting clear expectations from day one, their roles and responsibilities, goals and timelines, expectations and standards, boundaries and resources, and support and feedback. So all these things for the roles and responsibilities, we have in the very, very beginning, the job or role scorecard, and it's in the Agency U modules. We share the role blueprint, and in there, the section is the scorecard. That is a clear way of seeing a lot of these pieces, their goals and timelines. Here's the 90-day. This is your goals, your timeline in the next 90 days. These are the initiatives, the big projects our organization is working on, or these are the clients that we're helping, and the setting expectations. Like in the beginning, I let them know the expectation wise is keep up with the onboarding process. It's not built to be made impossible. It is fully possible. Many others have done this and gone through this. You have the option of keeping up pace-wise, and you have the option of moving ahead if you like. But as far as pace goes, it's like a marathon. I want you to be moving at this pace. If you fall below that pace, then that's a problem. And there's red flags. And I'm here to help you and figure out what is holding you back. Okay. Boundaries and resources, letting everyone know these are all the tools. We have actually a separate form. It's called a budget request form. If there's, let's say, oh, their equipment broke, they need a new mic, they need a new keyboard, there's a course they want to sign up for. They just fill out a form. They fill out that form explaining why they need it, how much it costs, what's the benefit for them and the organization. Leadership team will review it and provide the approval or not. Or we might have some additional questions. So there's resources there. And of course, support and feedback, right? Whenever I see something that doesn't fit our culture or there's something that needs to be addressed, I address it immediately. For the most part, I address it privately. But anything positive, I address publicly. But anything negative, I address privately. So I would message the individual. So here's one scenario. There's been instances where agency owners would come to me and say, oh, you know what? My EA, they're supposed to be logging in until 6 o'clock, but they log off at 5:30. Okay. So that's one scenario. The first thing I would ask the agency owner would be like, did you talk to them about this? Or do you have a flexible schedule? Maybe they logged in earlier that day to cover for that. Or maybe they've been putting in a lot of hours before. No, I didn't. Maybe you should talk to them first and then set clear expectations. What do you want from your team? Are you really strict on your hours? If so, okay, what flexibility do you have? And if you have flexibility, then how do you expect the individual to communicate to you to let you know? Do you need at least 24-hour notice? Of course, there's emergencies, but that's understandable. But maybe certain days, the individual might need to drop their kids off to school. So they need to log off early or pick up their kids. So those are things that communication is the key. So there's no expectations. We have SMART goals. The goal: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So the goal here is to integrate into the team. So something more specific: build relationships with at least 5 team members. Measurable: have 3 one-on-one meetings with colleagues. Achievable: participate in team meetings and activities. Relevant: supports team collaboration and communication. And time bound: by the end of the first month, or it could be by the end of the 90-day period. So when you're creating goals, start creating SMART goals for your talents. So developing a coaching or a mentorship kind of mindset. So going from manager to mentor, I look at managers is ensuring that everyone has the exact tools, items, things that they need to get their work done and making sure the objectives are completed. That's typically a manager. And then they're doing performance reviews, again, really routine. It's still important, very important to have managers. But as the agency owner, the entrepreneur, the business owner, as you scale and grow your business, it's important to transition your role from a manager. Like right now, your agency needs you to be that, manager, the operator. And then eventually you want to move into the mentorship role. And the sooner you can do that, the management role will automatically be delegated to the rest of your team. So it's not just about assigning tasks. You want to focus on empowerment of your employees to take ownership of their own work. Okay? I lost count how many agency owners come to me and say, I wish my team would just be able to do the things that I'm asking them to do. And ultimately, it sounds like what? You want someone to read your mind? Like, I want them to be able to read my mind. But the thing is, they can't understand how to read your mind if you're not there to mentor them and coach them and how you think through things. What are your values and your mission and your vision for the organization and also for them? And part of empowerment is connecting all those dots for that individual. If you, as an entrepreneur, do not have a good game plan, a clear path, it doesn't have to be crystal clear, but at least a clear path, then how do you expect to provide a clear path for anyone else on your team? Mentorship techniques, active listening, open communication, encouraging self-reflection, independent problem solving. Think of it as it's like being that Yoda, right? You don't give the answers, even though you have the answers. Sometimes you don't. You ask a lot of questions. Like, how did you come up with this? What's your thought process behind that? And getting the individual to get to that conclusion. That's one of the big differences of a coach versus a mentor. A coach will basically focus on the skills. It's almost like teaching you how to play the piano, teaching you how to manage a project or lift weights, whatever that is. They'll provide you exact specific items. Whereas a mentor, you're encouraging and you're getting the individual to come up with that conclusion and saying, yes, I will figure out how to learn to play the piano. And these are the resources that I need to go to get that information and to improve. And now you're teaching them methods and frameworks to be self-sufficient. And that's ultimately, and then they understand that by learning this skill is advantageous for the individual to do so much more beyond just working here in the organization. So that's mentorship. Okay. And I think of this as parenting too. That's just important, right? In the beginning, you're like yelling at your kids, maybe, oh, don't do that, don't do this, right? But after a while, you want to empower your children. So it's no different. So mentorship impact, right? Skill development. Mentorship speeds up the skill growth, career advancements, experience faster career progression because they get it. They're self-motivated to get to where they want to go. And then they're building their own confidence and job satisfaction increases. So that's through the roof. Okay? And when you do this correctly, you don't have to force anyone to do anything. Right? I say that all the time. I can't force you. I'm not going to force you to do anything. I can't force you to come to work. I can't force you to work on this thing and make this due by the end. But I want you to understand why you're doing it, what's beneficial for you and your colleagues, your friends, your family, and your future, and how that all comes together. And when you see that, you're motivating yourself. Building trust with new hires. Trust is the foundation of effective leadership. New hires need transparency, consistency, and encouragement. Right? It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Don't just start off with like, yeah, new hire, first 5 days, first 10 days, you're gung-ho about it. And next thing you know, after that, you don't really talk to them anymore. You're like, hey, bye, off to my other things. And I get it. You have a lot of work to do. You have a lot of things to do. So make sure you allocate time. So that way you can get to the individual. Like after you get to that 90-day mark, the individual is well prepared. And if you do it correctly, this individual not only will stop taking time away from you, but the individual will give you more time back. And here's a bigger plus. If all future hires, the individuals now has that mindset, has that ability to lead others now. So it's just like this positive snowball effect, but you got to do it right. So ways to build trust, be honest, transparent. This is my thought process of why we're making these decisions. Listen actively, follow through on commitments, show empathy and respect confidentiality and boundaries. role of feedback and continuous improvement. Be specific, stay constructive, be timely, and encourage dialogue. All of our new hires, we meet every day and sometimes twice a day. All of our team members, currently, I do a one-on-one once a month, and they can always set up a call with me at any time. And then we have other meetings. And whenever I see opportunity to tie in our vision, our mission, our vision, and core values, I do it like a broken record. I say, oh, yeah, that's great. Thank you for doing that. You really focus on our value of keeping promises, right? So it's one of those things where I always tie back into the values whenever I can. Those are perfect opportunities to do that. And when I'm providing feedback, you can do the sandwich model where in the beginning, we talk about positive feedback and then provide some constructive criticism and then end the conversation so they don't feel like crap. Hey, you're doing great. Keep up the good work. I see that you're working really hard on this. So if you work on these few points, I definitely can see you complete this onboarding piece or finish this out strong, right? So you're providing positive encouragement near the end of the conversation. Okay. And this is more like during one-on-ones. Regular check-ins, performance reviews, structured feedback sessions, and encourage self-assessment and continuous growth. I always start with like, how would you grade yourself? How would you score yourself? Addressing challenges in managing new hires, underperformance, managing lack of engagement in difficult conversations. So these are some of the common ones. Underperformance, that's one of those keys where my personal experience, there's a lot of individuals that experience that, which I've touched on in the previous slide. And then handling difficult conversations. What are difficult conversations? Talking to someone, letting them know that they're not performing well. And then if they continue, provide additional warnings. And then ultimately, hey, this is the final warning. And then what we do is we put the individual on PIP, performance improvement plan. And if they don't pass that, then letting them go. And you have to be consistent on that. And those are some of the difficult things that it's uncomfortable. It's still uncomfortable for me. I don't like having these types of conversations, but I think of it this way. What is more valuable and important to the person? If I was in their position, if I was working for someone, for a boss, for a leader, I would want to know what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong and how I can improve so I don't lose my job. So you have to think of it that way. When you think of it that way, then no matter how much pain it is, how difficult it is, you're doing the right thing. You owe it to that person and you owe it to everyone else in the organization and to your clients, right? And your future, right? So if you put in that perspective, it's not difficult, okay? Not as difficult. Just example, performance improvement plan, we have issue details and then the next steps. So this is just one example. And then we have the warning level and the issue details and next steps. So that's kind of how we have it formulated. We have a form that we fill out. It's cut and dry, right? Mistakes should be learning experiences, not punishments, creating a space for continuous development. The growth mindset is loving challenges and seeing them as opportunities to grow stronger. Throughout your journey, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. Your team members are going to make a lot of mistakes. During the debrief, I always first look at how did this get to this point? How did this happen? And what can we do to prevent this from happening? And I always self-reflect first. What did I do as a leader that I failed to do? It might be training. It might be articulating, setting expectations. Because 9 times out of 10, it's the leader's responsibility and miss on that point. And even if, let's say, the individual is not on the right seat on the bus, then it's still back to the leader. Hey, you're the one that hired that person. You're the one that trained and developed and placed them in that position. They're better off maybe in a different position, or maybe they're just not a good fit in the organization. It's up to you as a leader to understand that and to figure that out. Leadership development for first-time leaders. So stages, self-awareness, understanding your own strengths and weaknesses, skill building, developing leadership skills. So I read a ton of books. I listen to a lot of books, leadership books. Definitely focus on that. Try to read at least 1 book a month. Team management, leading and motivating teams. It's going to feel weird and awkward at first. After a while, it's going to feel really natural and it's part of your communication, your leadership style. and it's truly authentic. And then strategic leadership, right? Focusing on long-term goals and direction. So I constantly think about that. But you can only do that final part when everything else is built out and your team understands. Because if you're fighting fires, you're not thinking about strategic leadership, right? You're not thinking about motivating the team. You're like, hey, there's a client that's pissed off right now. There's an issue. We're late, or there's a PR issue on one of the posts that we've made. We're fighting a fire. So at that point, it's just all hands on deck and we just got to fix it. But you don't want to do that constantly because you're going to burn yourself out and the rest of the team out. As a leader, seek feedback, develop emotional intelligence, learn continuously, and lead by example. Everyone's looking to you. And as you train other leaders, they're looking up to the individual. And so you're building the initial baseline, the recipe for everyone else to follow. This is just one little diagram for emotional intelligence, all these pieces all coming together, and then empowering your team for success. So here's some stats, right? Teams with engaged employees show 21% higher profitability and 17% higher productivity. 60% of employees would stay longer if they had a better relationship with their manager or leader or entrepreneur in this case, right? And 70% of employee engagement variance is due to leadership quality. Ultimately, you have to take extreme ownership. Right? There's actually a book, when you get a chance to read that book, Extreme Ownership. Extreme ownership, accountability for yourself as a leader, and then you're setting an example for everyone else in your organization. Takeaway, leadership is about building teams, not managing people. Hiring, onboarding, mentorship determine long-term success. And final, invest in leadership development for yourself and your agency, and your growth as a leader fuels your team's success. So questions for everyone as we wrap up. And of course, if you have other questions, I'd love to hear it. But my question for everyone is, what challenges are you currently facing as a first-time leader, and how can you apply today's insight to your leadership journey?
One of my challenges is that my graphic designer, who also kind of my project manager, she wants more hours. She put her kid into daycare so she could get more hours.
Mhm.
And, life happens. Everyone gets sick. The baby can't go to daycare because she's sick. So I'm not punishing her because of all those things. I do want to give her more hours, but I'm afraid to get more clients because our processes aren't in place and she's not able to fulfill all those hours. How do I have that conversation with her? Hey, life happens, but we have to be able to communicate and get stuff done. And I don't know, whether they're sick or not sick, sometimes I just feel like she's dropping the ball and not letting me know and then trying to catch up.
Yeah, I totally get it. And have you had discussions with her regarding these things?
Not yet, just because we're getting through the whole section of her being off for a couple weeks because she's been sick and our
Yes.
process is being pushed back and client work being pushed back. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a learning curve for both of
Yeah.
us because we do have new processes and this is probably the most client work we've ever had. But
Yeah.
hey, if you want more work and if we want more clients, we have to be able to get through this. And she also keeps telling me hey, no, we don't need a graphic design intern or we don't need a junior graphic designer. But it's, hey, if you're not here and you're not telling me these things, someone else has to pick up the slack,
Yeah. Okay. I love that. I love that. And you're in the right thought process. You're already thinking ahead. I love these things. Here's what I would do. Okay. Number one is part of a leader and also part of building trust is you have to be vulnerable. Okay. So at that point in the beginning, you let her know, hey, I need your help. Right. So it's a private conversation. You're talking to the individual and you're like, hey, I know family is number one, right? It's super important. I let my team know, hey, take care of your family, work, there'll always be work. Right? And it sounds crazy coming from the business owner, right? But there'll always be work. On our deathbed, we're not going to think about, oh man, I should have worked on that project. Let's be real. No one thinks about that, but you're hoping you're surrounded with family and friends. And so I start with that. But here's the thing. Can we work together and figure this out? This is our situation here. I understand that kids get sick. I get it. So just understanding empathy, that positioning. Then asking, what do you think we can do? Because now it's really exciting time. We have more clients. I want to bring on more clients so we can get you more hours. And in the future, I'm kind of thinking about these other opportunities that will open up. But here's the deal. In order for us to grow and these opportunities, if you're interested in them, I ask the individual, what do you want? Then I would go deeper. I would ask, what should we do? And then she might say, okay, I know this is just a temporary situation. My kid's sick. I just need to get over this. All right, I understand that. But look at life, right? I mean, are we going to get sick again? Absolutely. But it's not just getting sick. It's not just the bad things in life. I want us to be able to go on vacation. I want us to
Right.
take a break. I don't want us to burn out, right? So what can we do? I think this is a really good opportunity for us now to bring on some extra help. Could be an intern, could be a full-time help. I've talked to David, and a designer, full-time designer in the Philippines is about $1,700 a month. And you look at the revenue numbers and we look at our budget, it makes sense, right? And that way, you don't have to stress out. They're helping you build these SOPs. It's about mitigating that risk. In that way, we create more stability and we can scale our business. And also, it's an opportunity for you to practice your management skills and your leadership skills. So then we're building up our team that way. And then it allows me to sell more. I'm trying to create that perspective. But if there's constant pushback, like again after again, sometimes it's just not the right fit. I hate to say this. And so this is a big piece in leadership and mentorship is you try to get the individual to understand that. But after conversations and conversations, every time this happens to your agency, you're like throwing a dice. You're like on the
Yeah.
roulette table, okay? You're gambling with your own business. And either your team members are supporting you and decreasing the risks, increasing the odds of winning, or they're causing more chaos and increasing the risk of bankruptcy, right? Or closure of a business. If you want her to be one of the leaders in your organization to a point where like they're like one of the executives, then you have to start being more transparent and also start talking numbers and start having basically concrete tactics. Like these are the things that we should do. What are your thoughts? You can go back to, I want to help you. And my way of helping is to invest in you and in our organization by bringing more team members, making your load lighter. I'm not here to replace you. I'm here to help you level up and take on different types of and more complex responsibilities.
Yeah. And I think that's a great way to put it. That's something I haven't thought about. I think she's worried about getting replaced or losing.
No. You know what all designers should be afraid of right now? It's not about people. It's about AI.
Right.
Be afraid of AI. AI can design these crazy things right now. I mean, sure, there's some hallucinations, but here's the thing. As a designer, you don't want to be the horse and buggy driver right now, okay? If you're the horse and buggy driver, you want to figure out how to drive a car and taxi people in cars. Now you have an unfair advantage. So that's another perspective you can give to your team member. We have to evolve and change. We can't do what we're doing before. Times are changing, things are evolving. We have to level up. We have to bring on team members to support us in that future. And it goes back to you. What is your vision, your mission, your core values? And tie that back in, tie that into their own mission and vision and core values and what they want to do and what they want to get out of life. And then all that comes together. And then that's when the magic happens. Thank you for your time. Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to shoot me a message. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care. See ya.